Kobe Bryant is one of the greatest players in NBA history. Throughout his 20-year career, which he spent entirely with the Los Angeles Lakers, Bryant achieved things many people can only dream of. Whether it's his 5 NBA championships, 2 Finals MVP awards, 18 All-Star selections, 11 First-Team All-NBA selections, or his 2008 MVP award, Kobe has a list of accolades that few in NBA history can rival. Everyone in the Lakers franchise quickly realized Bryant's potential, and they locked him up to a 6-year, $70 million extension midway through his 3rd season with the team. By the time his career was over, Kobe made $323 million from his playing career with the Lakers alone. Of course, Kobe wasn't just a basketball player, and he was renowned for being a savvy businessman throughout his career as well. Bryant's business acumen helped him double his career earnings with the Lakers through various business ventures off the court. Kobe's business ventures took off in 2014 when he launched his brand development firm, Kobe Inc. But to get the full story, you have to go back to earlier in Bryant's career when he successfully used endorsement deals to help him bring in a steady income both off and on the court. Bryant's first major endorsement deal came with Adidas during his rookie year, in which he inked a 6-year, $48 million deal. As part of this deal, Bryant got his own signature shoe, with the equipment KB8 being the first in a long line of the Bryant shoe collection. Kobe would go on to have endorsement deals with other big-name companies such as Coca-Cola, McDonald's, Spalding, and Nintendo. Kobe seemed to be on a path that few take regarding endorsement deals, but his progress was halted due to a sexual assault allegation in 2003. This severely damaged Bryant's reputation and led to many of his endorsement deals getting scrapped. Bryant's public image would eventually recover, as the prosecutors did not end up testifying in the case. He renegotiated endorsement deals with some companies that dropped him in the previous years. While most companies dumped Bryant during his sexual assault allegation, Nike ended up signing Bryant to a 5-year contract worth $40 to $45 million right before the reports came out. They ended up not terminating their relationship with Kobe, and Bryant would eventually continue his signature sneaker line with Nike. This partnership has remained to this day, even after Bryant's untimely death, as Nike and Bryant's estate were able to negotiate a long-term deal to bring Bryant's signature shoes back in March of 2022. As previously mentioned, Bryant regained his prestigious public standing over time and earned most of his endorsement deals back. Kobe would eventually look to make more of a global presence for himself, and he signed a 2-year deal with Turkish Airlines to help accomplish that. Bryant would be in a promotional film for the company that aired in 80 different countries, and he starred in a commercial alongside soccer star Leo Messi, which helped him develop a persona outside just the game of basketball. Bryant's endorsement deals undoubtedly brought a lot of money his way, but he really began to make some money with his investments. Bryant's first investment also happens to be the best one he made to date, and it's still paying dividends for his companies and his estate to this day. Shortly after founding Kobe Inc., Bryant invested $6 million in a company called Body Armor, which was an up-and-coming sports drink in 2014. Coca-Cola would eventually purchase Body Armor in a massive $5.6 billion deal in 2021, and reports have it that Bryant's initial $6 million investment ended up becoming worth close to $800 million. That's a gain of over 13,000% for those who are curious. Bryant would eventually retire in 2016, but didn't stay inactive for long. Instead, he founded his own venture capital firm, Bryant Stibel & Co., which would invest in companies including Scopely and LegalZoom. They haven't paid off in the same way as Body Armor yet, but given how brilliant Bryant was, it wouldn't be surprising to see those pay off sometime soon. Bryant was really just getting started when he passed away in a tragic helicopter accident on January 26, 2020. During that short time, though, Bryant built up the start of a business empire that his estate is still developing. Kobe played his cards right when it came to investing, and as a result, there isn't really an investment that stands out as an undeniable failure for him so far. The noticeable stain on not only his legacy but his potential endorsement and investment opportunities was the sexual assault case in 2003. It should go without saying that the matter of the case was far more important than anything else Bryant found himself involved in. These matters should always be treated with total seriousness, even though the verdict ended up going in Bryant's favor. But looking back on the scope of Bryant's career, this turned out to be the most damaging thing that could have happened to him. Kobe was already a superstar when this case took place. He was about to become the face of the NBA if he already wasn't. Once the accusation was made though, Bryant lost pretty much everything. All his endorsements were gone, the league had to handle him with caution, and even his own team was considering the potential outcome of the case. It damaged Bryant's reputation, which he worked diligently to restore, but chances are it resulted in the biggest financial loss of his career. While nothing is certain, chances are those endorsements would have continued to grow for Bryant, and maybe he could have started investing earlier. Kobe lost no money, but it was the potential for him to make more money that he lost. Many more important issues were raised due to Kobe's sexual assault case, but when looking back at his career and earnings, this definitely put a hold on Bryant's progress for a few years. When you make as much money as Kobe did, you can spend it on some pretty lavish items. For example, one of the first things professional athletes like to get with their newfound money is a house. And Bryant did just that in 2002 when he purchased a $4 million home in Newport Beach, California. Kobe would end up selling that house, but by the time of his death, he had 4 different homes in Orange Beach, California. His main house was valued at around $21.3 million, while the remaining 3 combined for $18.8 million. That certainly doesn't sound like a bad way to live. Of course, Bryant didn't just spend his hard-earned dough on material possessions. For as much of a competitor as he was on the court, Bryant was just as humble and thoughtful off the court. Kobe gave back much of his time and money to many organizations during his time as an athlete and after he retired. They include United Way of Los Angeles, After School All-Stars, and the Make-A-Wish Foundation. Bryant's estate continued his good work after his death, with the founding of the Mamba and Mambacita Foundation being made in Kobe and his daughter Gianna's honor. Kobe was always intent on giving back to the LA community and those who were less fortunate than he was. He has put his family and friends in a great position to continue his work and legacy, even though his time came to a close way too soon. Bryant is known primarily for being a phenomenal basketball player who helped revive the Lakers dynasty in the early 2000s. And given the accolades and accomplishments he achieved throughout his career, who could really blame you for thinking of basketball when you hear the word Kobe? Sadly, we were robbed of Kobe's second act as a successful businessman and entrepreneur off the court. In a limited amount of time, Bryant managed to turn himself into a business whiz, and the moves he made throughout his career and shortly after proved that point. For all the good Kobe contributed to the game of basketball, he was just as good outside of it. He served as a role model and mentor for many kids around the world, and without him, the game of basketball would be in a much worse place. While he unfortunately did not get to finish his work in the business world, he has set up his estate to continue doing his work. And we all know it's going to be a long time before people forget about Kobe Bryant.